hey, wow, Warner Brothers actually found a guy to play Bruce Wayne in Man of Steel 2, Batman vs. Superman, or whatever the hell they're gonna call it. What's more, they found a big deal actor, which is kind of surprising since this would mean signing on to the sequel to a movie that was poorly reviewed and despite a good haul was not the financial success that the studio was banking on, and fairly or not, you're gonna face the inevitable prospect of being negatively compared to Christian Bale.
You never give it to an ordinary citizen! Where's the trigger? Where is it? Where is it?
Or maybe that won't actually be that tough of a hurdle to clear. But yeah, they found a major star to be the new Batman, and he's a hell of a get, an actor with a distinguished track record who's proven himself in drama, comedy, and action, and who's a celebrated writer, director, producer, and two-time Academy Award winner. And he's a big fan of comic books and the superhero genre. I mean, geez, if anything was going to make me even cautiously optimistic for this movie after the slog that was Man of Steel, and the ongoing slow-motion train wreck that seems to be Warner Brothers' bumbling approach to creating the DC movie universe, that kind of pedigree would do it. And said pedigree belongs to Boston's own Ben Affleck. Awesome, awesome pick. So awesome, I'm actually kind of surprised the studio and creative team behind these debacles made it. So what did the citizens of Nerd Nation think when this news broke over the weekend? What the hell, guys? Seriously, what is everyone's big problem with this? I'm not even being facetious. I literally do not understand why this would be bad news to anybody. I mean, he's a white guy with a strong chin, so he passes the only physical requirement to play Batman there really is. And he's a good actor. Yes, he's a good actor. Oh, did he do some goofy movies before? Yeah, sure. What, the last guy who played Batman didn't?
I've been with all the muckety mucks, I'm blowing my dough and going deluxe.
The main things everyone keeps bringing up are Gigli and Daredevil. Those movies came out 10 years ago. Are you the same person you were 10 years ago? I'm not, and this guy clearly isn't. We're talking about a guy who underwent a complete career reinvention and revival here. Huh, funny actor on a career comeback playing the hyper-competent mortal in a team of superheroes? Where'd they get that crazy idea? In fact, this isn't a total out-of-left-field surprise. Back before Warner Brothers even settled on making Man of Steel the main start of the new run of DC movies, they were looking at just doing Justice League right off the bat. And the big rumor at the time was they offered the director's chair to Ben Affleck. This would have been right around the time when The Town had just been a massive hit for the same studio. Supposedly, that job would have come with a catch. They wanted him to be Batman. Now, obviously, he passed on it then, but one of those things has clearly changed. I wonder if the other part has too. He apparently signed on for more than one movie. Will Ben Affleck also direct Justice League? Could he possibly write it? Oh, hey, will they let him take a pass at writing the Versus Superman script since a crappy screenplay was the main thing that dragged down Man of Steel? We can only hope. You kinda have to feel bad for Henry Cavill though, right? Hey man, thanks for risking your nascent Hollywood career on this role that has destroyed the career prospects of pretty much every actor who's ever played it. But we're not confident that anyone actually wants to see you play Superman again, so not only are we calling Batman in for insurance, we're getting someone way more established and famous than you to play him. Tough break. But you know what I really like about this choice? Here are some words that are not typically used to describe Ben Affleck. Dark, brooding, angsty, intense. In fact, his whole thing is generally being likable and even funny, even when he plays a hard-bitten criminal. It's what he does. So maybe this is an indication that it's finally gotten through to the filmmakers that they've gone as far as they can possibly go with psycho thug Batman, and perhaps we'll get something a little more, dare I hope, fun, like the grim but still functionally human Batman from the animated series, or the I'm actually having fun with this life version of him from Brave and the Bold. Honestly, the only reason for me not to think of this as a total positive is that however good a choice Ben Affleck is, the same creative team that made seemingly every wrong decision they could find to make on Man of Steel is still overwhelmingly in charge. And they're still, by all indications, going with Batman vs. Superman as a starting premise. When they announced the film at Comic-Con, they did so with a quote from Frank Miller's landmark, groundbreaking, but also, let's face it, incredibly dated and more than a little overpraised Dark Knight Returns, which is typically seen as having originated the modern idea that these two characters should be ideological opposites or outright enemies rather than allies. I hate to be a wet blanket here, but all of those things are red flags as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Batman vs. Superman, aka Who Would Win, is not the premise of a movie. It's the premise of a scene in a movie. Unless we're talking about stuff like Freddy vs. Jason or King Kong vs. Godzilla, where the guys fighting are these force of nature things that drive the plot but actually aren't the main characters. Keep in mind, we've already more or less seen these same two guys go at it in the form of Iron Man vs. Thor in The Avengers, and it was awesome. And part of the reason why it was awesome is that it was over in like 2 minutes, which is about as long as these things need to last. They went at it, both guys used all their best powers, we saw who could do what to who, and then it was done and we got on with the story. And no, Batman pulling out a succession of gadgets to checkmate Superman isn't a story. In fact, while I'm here, isn't the whole Batman always wins so long as he has time to prepare cliche from the comics and elsewhere kind of a double plus dumb at this point? I mean, I know why it exists. It's the same reason why Spider-Man always wins in the Marvel Universe, because they're the most popular characters. But whereas Spidey tends to win just because, Batman, it's usually all about this fetishism for his preparedness, which when you get right down to it is really just fetishism for his money. The backstory of almost all Batman's celebrated resourcefulness is that he's always had more more than enough wealth, by inheritance incidentally, to buy all the best gear and spend his life learning all these skills in lieu of ever having to work for a living. So Batman vs. Superman always gets framed as the triumph of an ordinary mortal besting a god, but it's really not. Bruce Wayne is not John Henry beating the steam-powered hammer. He's Mitt Romney with a doomsday bunker and a leather fetish. And speaking of fetishes, modern comics fixation on this particular version of this particular character, embodying entitlement and vengeance by proxy, finding a way to purchase victory over a character that's supposed to embody hope and optimism, is emblematic of just about everything that went wrong with modern comics. And not uncoincidentally, that's also most of what went wrong in Green Lantern, Dark Knight Rises, and Man of Steel. So yeah, Ben Affleck is Batman, I am psyched. Ben Affleck is Batman in this particular franchise, still not getting optimistic about that one. I'm Bob, and that's the big picture.